How are you?
Hey man, I'm doing fantastic. How you doing this fine day?
Yeah, I'm not bad. I'm okay. Okay,
Good stuff, man. How's the offer treating you?
it's okay. Still on the SDR role. Um,
Okay,
yeah, it's not bad. Yeah.
okay. They just have you calling like pretty much new leads that are popping in, or
Yeah,
like,
yeah, pretty much. Just calling them up, emailing them, confirming them, and then keeping them warm until they get on the call.
hmm, got
Yeah.
you. Cool, man. So I know that last we talked, we went into pretty much the discovery portion of it.
Mhm.
Um, I guess what do you want to work on today?
Um, we can have another go at Discovery if you want.
I mean, it's your training, so I guess what do you
Yeah.
want? Yeah. Is that the area you feel you need the most help with?
Um, I don't know. Well, you haven't seen my objection handling, so maybe you might think I need more help with that. To be
Okay.
fair.
Okay.
Um,
Um, so in terms of objection handling, I guess, how much have you done? Or like, how do you have a process you go through for that? Or what does that look like?
um, I feel like I have a process, as
Okay.
in like I know the smoke screens, and then isolating the problem to where it's not about the money, or it is
Hmm.
about the money, like logistics.
Yeah.
And then it's down to um, fear, time, or the wife objection.
Okay.
Well, there's a bunch of objections in there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of just separating it away from the money.
Who is like the guy who you are like, okay, I follow this guy's objection handling? Like, who is that person for you?
I think it's Kurt, to be honest.
Kurt?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I know he's not crazy big on actual objection handling. It's more of
No,
like, um,
I think
having a,
it's just reframing, isn't it? Just reframing their state of mind into thinking more resourceful instead of
yeah.
being a victim,
Yeah.
essentially.
Have you seen the like objection handling training
Which one? I've
with
seen the
Kyle?
objection breakdown.
Like with Kyle?
Yeah, yeah,
Like because there's like a 2.5 hour one and then there's like a 30-ish minute one.
yeah. Where he's basically on the Miro board.
Yeah. Well, both
Yeah,
on the
yeah, yeah.
Miro board, but one of them's like a
Okay.
live one that he did with everybody, and the other one is like just him and Kurt.
Yeah, I think I was there for that live one. So I've not watched it since then.
Hmm.
Um, but I've seen
Okay.
the 30-minute one. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Well, we can practice whatever you want, man. It really comes down to what you feel you need the most help with. Um, I know that I objection handle a little bit differently, um, because of some of the previous training that I've had.
Mhm.
Not to say that Kurt stuff isn't amazing. It's more so like I have a framework I usually use, and then I almost like add his stuff into it to make it
Mm.
more effective. But we
Mhm.
can do whatever you want. We can do discovery, we can do objection handling. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
It kind of comes down to what you feel you need the most help with.
We'll go objection handling. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Cool.
Is there a specific
Um,
one you're wanting to work on, or the one that you find that people face the most?
um, maybe like just uncertainty, fear.
Fear, uncertainty. Okay, cool.
I guess within my offer, that's probably the main one because it's like AI. People don't know a lot about AI. There's not a lot of like years and years and years of proof out there. So,
Right, right. Okay.
um,
So, when you say uncertainty or fear, do you notice any of the ones that pop up? Is it like, hey, AI is new. I'm not sure it's going to shake out. I don't know if this is a thing, or like what, I guess, what is the context for them giving like an uncertainty objection? Is it in a done for you service situation? Is it in a done with you? Like what is the
I think the done for you is pretty much you don't kind of get that fear because it's like business owners who can afford to chuck 25K at a
yeah,
program. Um,
yeah.
but the
So it's
smaller
mainly the
packages,
done with you one.
yeah, that requires like a bit of commitment from them.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. All
I
right,
mean,
man.
where should we go from like sort of pitched and then showing you the pitch deck? Have you got any more questions regarding this and then the
Yes,
investment?
but it would be within the context of the done with you one.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we can start there.
okay, cool. So yeah, man. Everything said, all explained. Is there any further questions you might like? Any further questions that are popping up for you right now?
No, no, I don't have any additional questions. No,
Okay,
seems
so
fairly clear.
you understand the business model, right, to the full extent?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Okay, great. I mean, if this is something you're looking to do, it's just a one-time investment of £10,000.
Okay. Okay. Is that all up front or what is that?
Yeah, typically the people who pay up front get the best results, um, because they've made that financial commitment to themselves and where they want to be, and yeah, that's typically what we see.
Okay. Okay. Well, is there a way that you could like draw this up for me like an email in terms of everything that we've kind of walked through? Maybe even send me the pitch deck, and I could take some time and then we could talk maybe on Friday. I just kind of want to go over everything, go over the numbers, just make sure that everything makes sense to me. There's no
Yeah, of course,
additional
man.
stuff.
Yeah, that's not an issue at all. Everything we've gone over will get sent over to you. I guess I'm just trying to understand like what things might be cropping up for you right now. Is it something I've not explained correctly or what?
Oh no, you've done amazing. Like you've done a great job.
Hmm.
It's just kind of the normal process that I go through. So just like to kind of take some time, kind of sit on it, and then if everything makes sense at that point, then obviously we can do it.
Okay. How long do you think you'll need?
Oh, just a Friday.
Okay. And between like now and Friday, what typically do you think will change?
Well, I'll just have that time and space. Um, I'll be able to go through if there's anything I'm missing. Who knows? Maybe I'll do a little bit more digging into this stuff. And that'll help me make a better sense of it.
Okay.
So,
I mean, you do want to do this, all right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we can take some time away, but would it be right in saying that like maybe the past 2 years of you, yeah, not taking action and kind of not taking action on where you want to be and where you want to get at has like led you to this point, and now these next 24 hours or however long it may be might, continue that same pattern. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I mean, I kind of do. I don't know if it's exactly the same. Um, I mean, I definitely want to do this. It's just a matter of taking a little bit of additional time and space to make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Okay, but why do you want to do this?
Well, because obviously the potential is there for being able to build an AI business, and it feels like that's the next wave, the next big thing. So, want to make sure to get that.
Okay,
Excuse me.
but why do you like specifically want this AI business like and jump this onto this next big thing?
Well, because I can see myself being able to eventually replace my job and then just kind of have this be the main thing.
And what would it mean to you if it was to replace your job?
Well, I'd be able to, spend more time at home, be able to travel more. That's what it would allow me to do, like I kind of mentioned earlier.
Hmm. And who do you think would, you know, who do you think it'd impact if you were able to, be successful with this business?
Oh, yeah, it'd be my family. It'd be my
Hmm.
family.
What would it mean to them for you to, quit your job and like create more time with them and more memories essentially?
Yeah, it'd be helpful. It would be, um, they definitely appreciate that
Why?
because obviously I'd be there more.
Mm. And how long have you actually wanted to be there more for your family?
Um, Past couple of years.
Okay. But but why are we only taking action now if it's been like 2 years and you've wanted this for 2 years?
Well, I only just kind of ran across you guys recently. I just kind of saw an ad. I checked this out. So I mean, I just kind of ran across this recently, so that's kind of why now.
But I'd be fair to say like we aren't obviously been the only ad you've seen in the past 2 years though, right? Or am I wrong in saying that?
Well, yeah.
So like just in terms of like you actually leaving your 9 to 5 and creating like some sort of business to give you time back to your family and stuff, like why has it took us up till now to actually kind of hop on a call and change that?
Well, I mean, the other things that I've seen didn't really like make sense. I didn't see the long-term potential.
Mm.
So that's the reason. Because I don't want to start something that I'm not going to be able to fully be able to do.
Do you think you'll be able to fully commit to this one?
I believe so. I believe so.
Mm. So why are we like potentially putting it off for any longer?
Well, just to make sure there's nothing else I'm missing. It's part of the normal, I guess, process that I typically do. It's not that I'm not going to do it. It's that
Mm.
I just want to make sure there's nothing else that I feel like I'm missing. Um, I'm sure
Okay.
you've had it where you go to bed, you sleep on something, then you wake up and you're like, oh shit, like there's this other thing I maybe needed to learn, or this other thing I didn't think about. So
Mm.
that's kind of where that comes from.
Yeah, I understand. Um, but I guess like what kind of like person do you actually want to become, you know?
What do you mean?
Like the let's say 6 to 12 months down the line, you've got this business, it's doing really well. Um, what like characteristics, what traits does this Tommy have?
Um, I mean, he's successful.
Hmm. What else?
I mean, I guess I'm not there yet, so I couldn't necessarily tell you.
Mm. What do you think though, if you had to think about it?
Um, I mean, he's pulled in the big bags. He's free. He's not he's not at a job where he has to be there.
Mm.
So,
Okay, so if we have this Tommy here who's got like the freedom, pulling in the big bags, doesn't have a boss, is his own boss, and then we've got the Tommy who's on this call now. Really and truly, in between that is just the decisions and the actions we take on a daily basis. So, what kind of actions do you think you need to take now to become that guy who you actually want to be?
mm, I think the thing would be to take some time, um, see if there's anything else that I'm missing, and then reconnect on Friday if that's okay. Um, I guess is there a specific reason why I couldn't connect on Friday?
No, not all, not all. We can definitely connect on Friday. I just don't want you to go away and like get so much tied up in your thoughts that you never actually make a decision on becoming the man who you want to be.
Oh,
Like, what if?
yeah, I'm gonna be the man that I want to be.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
how do
it's
you know that?
happening
How do you know that though?
because
Do
I
you have a crystal
decided
ball? Do you have a
I'm
crystal
choosing.
ball? Um, yeah, I'm kind of stuck here. I'm
Yeah,
not
no
stuck.
worries, man. That was
Yeah,
good though. That's good though. I can tell you've been going through Kurt's shit.
yeah.
That was very good. But like, do you understand why like it's much harder to like dry fire objections without having a
Mm,
solid discovery?
context. Yeah, 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 for
Because
sure.
like, because like some of those things is like the past 2 years, like you had to almost like fish it out
Mm,
in this as we were going through. You did actually fairly well, I will say. Um, but like you had to start fishing out stuff to then
yeah.
use it as leverage. And if I'm like on the ball and I know what you're trying to do, I may not necessarily give you those like hooks that you could use.
Yeah, of course, of
Because I
course.
might just be
Yeah,
like stone cold and just be like, yeah, it's just my normal process. Yeah.
yeah,
Just,
yeah.
but for the sake of this, I'm
What would be the reframe? Is it like is it mindset? It's
so it
mindset
would be, yeah, it
reframing
would
their
be
mind.
mindset. It's like, because I mean, I know that because basically what he said is like, hey, this is my normal process. It's like, well, I mean, and then you pulled out of me. It was like 2 years ish of me wanting to make a shift and make a transition. And it's like, well, I mean, with all due respect, I mean, you maybe wouldn't say that because then it feels like you're going to be combative. But it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I can appreciate this is the way that you've made decisions, but you've also not been happy and not been the type of dad that you want to be the past 2 years because of those
Mm,
decisions.
yeah.
And so if you make it the habit of doing what you've always done, what are you going to keep always getting?
The same result.
The same results. Because to
Mm,
be honest, and then this is probably what I would do is I always try to go down the explanation route, which I need to be better about that. I need to like ask better questions to kind of pull it out of them.
mm-hmm.
And it's like, because to be honest, there really isn't going to be an external difference between doing anything now and then Friday. There isn't going to be an
Yeah.
external difference,
Mm-hmm.
but there will be an internal difference.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean by when I say that? They'll be like,
So,
no. Because the thing is that when you think about you a year from now, the type of guy that is successful, who has that business and actually has his time, he's able to be there for his family. When you think about that, what type of man would you say that person is? Well, he's X, he's Y, he's successful. It's like, yeah, but in terms of like mindsets, in terms of ways of
mm,
making decisions, because is it fair to say that we are this, where we are is the summation, which maybe that's a too complex of a word I would use in an actual objection handling section. It's like
mm-hmm.
it's a summation of all the decisions of our life up to that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And then they would have to say, well, yeah, okay. So if we're unhappy with where we are now, based on the decisions we've made, and he is happy with where he is, and he's where you want to be based on the decisions he's made, what do you feel the decisions you make, how are they different?
Mm,
Now, this approach that I'm doing is very much an explanation sort of
yeah.
way of doing it. Kurt would probably question. Kyle would definitely question, and some of the other people like me would question it. I need to be better at that because statements are like the lowest form of like persuasiveness, but they're
Mm-hmm.
also my default. So I need to practice like changing statements into questions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then it's like because on the outside nothing will change between now and Friday, but internally things will change. Because have you ever heard the saying, "Be, do, have"? They might be
Yeah.
like, yes, no. Do you know what that actually means? What it
Mm,
means that you choose to be the person up here. Now, anybody can do that. So what separates someone who wants to be a millionaire and chooses to be one up here versus the one who actually has the results? Do you know what the difference is? Oh, I don't know what the difference is. Or they may say something be like, because what happens is you become the person up here and then you reinforce it by what you do with your actions. And
mm-hmm.
then that takes hold. Because the same way, if we just think about it, thinking about being that person, you can also think to not be that person. And especially if you're
Mm,
not feeling it and there's no tangible anchor keeping you in that state of mind and as that person, you're just going to be flopping around with different identities left, right, and center.
yeah.
I maybe wouldn't say identity, but you'll be flopping around with who you are as a person, left, right, and center, being the person who is successful, then the person who isn't successful, the corporate guy, the successful father, the unsuccessful. That'll just be there. But how do you anchor in the one that you want? It's with the action. So you
Mm,
must act in accordance with the right way of being. And then over time, with you acting, then eventually you will be the person who has the
become there.
results of said
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
transparently, I don't care necessarily what you do. I just want what's best for you. And in my mind, my biggest concern is that the past 2 years continue to happen.
Mm,
Would you be okay with that?
no.
Why not? And then they say why they don't want A, B, 6, Y, Z. So if I am here to try to help you be with your family, how can I allow you to do things that you have done before that hasn't got what you want.
That's the wash moment, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's like,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's not combative, it's just you. I like to be very like upfront about shit and
Mm,
very like I like to explain, which I do have, again, too much of a tendency of just like saying the thing versus asking the thing. Like
yeah.
even the thing I posted on Facebook like last week, like that was me doing a lot of talking versus
Mm,
me asking questions to get a lot of like buy-in and having them come to it. Like that is probably my biggest weakness, honestly, is just saying shit versus like um asking
letting them
questions.
say it.
Because my
Yeah,
gut
yeah, yeah.
reaction is like I feel something and I immediately like talk about it.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
which is better because like before I used to be like I have no idea what I'm supposed to do. But then watching Kurt, it's like, oh, if you see something, you just address it immediately.
Mm,
But then now I'm like too fast to whatever the fastest way to do that is, which is like a suboptimal, just talk about the thing.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, you do it
because
very well though, because you explain it in a way where it's almost they only have to say like no or yes or explain why they don't want to be there. It's not like
yeah,
they have to think about it. It's like
no,
you're just perfectly leading them to like a yes or no answer.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Now, is it always successful? Not always. But the
mm,
thing is with a solid discovery, like
hmm
how did I even pull in the way that you've made decisions up to this point? You
yeah,
know, I first got buy-in on, hey, is it fair to say, like, do you feel that, we are the culmination of all the decisions, like all the decisions we have made and actions we've taken have brought us to this point.
mm,
I first had to get them to bite down on that, because then that
yeah,
sets the tone for the rest of the reframe. And it's
yeah,
like, okay, so if you bite down on that presupposition, and then I get you to bite down on in the future what that type of a person is, I get you to tell me what that is.
hmm
Okay, so I have you are where you are today because of the decisions, mindsets, and actions you've taken,
yeah,
which is also true for that future guy. He is
yeah,
also the culmination of that.
mm,
But then if there's only 12 months in between, what do you feel is different between the decisions and the mindsets that he's taken?
mm.
Do you feel he
The
does
object,
the
yeah,
exact
yeah,
same
yeah,
thing that I know you've done the last 2 years at least?
mm,
Because with that, because then it's like the math doesn't make sense. It's like, well, if it's been 2 years and I've already agreed that I am who I am today because of the decisions I've made up to this point,
and I'm not where I want to be.
and I'm not where I want to be, then logically it would make sense
Yeah,
that if I keep doing what I'm doing, one, I'll keep getting the same results. But then two, even if something did change, it would take best case scenario 2 more years for something to
mm,
change.
yeah,
But the thing is like because he was trying to have like a I want to do it on Friday conversation because this is how I make decisions, and I took it away from that conversation into a different conversation. We
hmm
basically moved battlefields to where
yeah,
we
yeah,
had an advantage, and we changed the context of the conversation we were having
yeah,
from this is about an email or this is about a pitch deck or about me doing research. We moved it away from that into, hey, it's not about that, it's about something else. But
mm,
before I moved to battlefields, I got their tie down on certain things that
yeah,
are logically accurate. Like, is it
yeah,
fair to say that we are who we are today based on the decisions that we've made up to this point?
yeah. Once he agrees, that's when you
Yeah,
can move
once
on.
he agrees, I've anchored that. If he disagrees on that, then we'd have to objection handle that point.
Yeah, I doubt many people would probably object to that though. Or what?
No, they wouldn't. But here's the thing.
Mm,
If we take that principle for anything in objection handling, it's like we
mm.
got them tied down on a specific point that they agreed to.
Okay, okay.
So this time it was, is it fair to say we are who we are based on the decisions that we've made up to this point? That's the
Mm,
presupposition I'm getting them agreed to.
right.
Cool. If I'm trying to do something else, like let's say someone is doesn't want to use debt, they don't like interest.
Yeah.
So for me to overcome that objection, I would have to have him agree to a different presupposition. Like, okay, well, is it fair to say that as long as you have a benefit in your
Mm,
head that's not necessarily a bad thing. I may have to start like super like low level like that. It'd be
Hmm.
like, is it fair to say that, if you put your money somewhere and then even if it was with interest, you made more money, would that actually be a bad thing? No.
No.
Okay, so that's a presupposition you just agreed to.
Hmm.
Okay. So then when it comes to approaching using financing or other people's money or not, if the process that you're going through you knew was going to get you to be more than what it cost you, and then you wouldn't have the debt eventually, would
Mm.
that also be a bad thing? No.
No.
Okay. So then my question to you is, do you feel based on what we've walked you through, this actually will be that vehicle that will give you the opportunity
Mm.
to make the money to pay off the debt so that you don't have to worry about it, but you have the skills to keep going and accomplishing your goals?
Mm. Yeah.
Yes or no. It might be maybe. At which point, then it's
Mm.
an uncertainty thing, and we need to handle whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
If they
Why?
say yes, then
Mm.
it's like, okay, so, and then if it's a done with you, cool. And then on your end, because we can give you the tools to be successful, are you willing to do everything in your power to be
Mm.
successful for you and your family? Yes, I am. Okay. So then, if that is the case, then what actually is going on? Because we can both see that this is going to make you money. So,
Hmm.
other than some arbitrary rule of I don't use other people's money, what is actually like going on here that's preventing you
Mm.
from being able to take the steps so you can help your family?
Fear, uncertainty.
It'd be fear or uncertainty of some type. Exactly. But
Mm.
like once you walk, what's because basically all a reframe is like changing the context of the fight we're having,
Yeah.
their perception of like where their attention is going, and then
Yeah.
logically making our case for why they should move today be bulletproof.
Hmm.
Because assuming that we've done that properly, there is no logical reason why they shouldn't move forward.
Yeah.
And then if they're choosing not to move forward, then we can see, okay, we're not dealing with a logical thing, we're dealing with an emotional thing.
Yeah.
Which, if we're dealing with an emotional thing, that's when the gloves come off. And that's when it's like, okay, well, we need to start hitting on some pain, some consequence, double tripling down. And then when we do that, it has to come from the perspective of like, I know you maybe don't want to say it, but I can tell that there's something else going on. And for your family's best interest, I'm not going to allow that to happen
Hmm.
because I know that this thing is going to work for you. You know it's going to work for you, but there's something going on that's preventing you from taking the step. Now, that's how I think about it because when you think about objection handling, that process I kind of walked you through, it
Yeah.
applies to anything and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No, for
not
sure.
specifically the way I make decisions. It's not specifically how do I handle interest. It's like anything that they give you, if you can get them
Tying
bought in,
down first.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there's like essentially you're making a logical argument as to
Hmm.
why what we're doing moving forward makes sense.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
for us to get them bought in on that, we first have to have them bought in on an underlying presupposition, an underlying statement that they would be unreasonable in the moment to disagree to.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
then once we have this, then we can start anchoring up two or three other things and getting them bought in on each step of the reframe until we get to the big one, which is what you said before doesn't make sense. You need to do what I need you to do for your family.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you. That's sick, man.
Yeah.
Um. So what about if it was like a wife objection then? Because
So
that's kind of like tying them down to, is it still decision making again?
So that is really a level of responsibility.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're putting the
and
responsibility in your wife's hands? Yeah,
owning the
ownership.
decision.
Yeah.
Now I'm not gonna lie, I am not the best person handling a spouse or like partner objections.
Mm.
Like I, and I think it's because I'm not 100% fully dialed on like, okay, well, when do I know that this is the time for me to push, and when do I think this is a time for me to get like a down payment and then do a follow-up with someone after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is something that I'm not 100% like, I don't what's the word? At this point in time, I haven't developed the skill set to see or perform the right way of overcoming that.
Mm. Okay.
So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, if at this point in time, the decision is I burn the lead
Yeah.
and they end up suffering, or I do a suboptimal process where, yes, I allow a wife objection to happen and I have to spend more time following up with this person, and there's a chance they don't close, but there's a
Mm.
higher probability of them actually coming through while I train up my skills to eventually be able to overcome that on the call. To
Yeah.
me, I see that as fine. Not because a wife objection is fine, because it's not. It's because at this point in time, based on my skills, the highest probability of success doesn't come from me just trying to immediately challenge it with, because it's like if I have a tool and I don't know how to use it, like I know I can be successful with this thing, but my
Mm.
skills are so low with it, I'm just gonna freaking destroy everything.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna start just
Not
freaking
gonna use it.
hammering shit and trying to figure
Yeah.
it out. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be like, well, okay, let me get clarity from Kurt, let me get clarity from Kyle to
Yeah.
really drill into and understand what are the fundamental principles. Because once I understand the principles of it and I know that I can like execute them, then I have
Mm.
no problems.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I used to, like a year ago, have problems objection handling people because I felt like I was trying to make them do something that wasn't in their best interest. I
Mm.
still
Okay.
push myself to do it, but with the way Kurt does it and with the way Kyle does it, it's reframed the way I think to where it's like, well, actually, if you do it with the right intentions
Yeah.
and you genuinely feel based on how you understand how identity works that what they're doing isn't going to help them, then I have no issues. Like there's no guilt, there's no nothing. Like I have said
Mm.
some horrible things to people to get them to take action, but it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
always because I
Good
knew that the
intentions.
action, yeah,
Yeah.
it was because the action was going to help.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done hours worth of objection handling with people too.
Mm.
And I've got them over the line, not because I'm like some wizard at objection handling. It's
Yeah.
because I just outlasted them because I knew
Yeah.
that what I was thinking, I had more conviction in what I was thinking about. If I let this person go, they're not going to make a change.
Yeah.
With certainty, I knew that
Yeah. Because
just because,
ultimately, it's like they need to realize that you're helping them make a change, and they're not even willing to do that themselves. And if they can
right.
see that through you and then realize it, it's like
Yeah.
boom, shit.
Which is why I try to, like, the interesting thing is that some people in sales are like, oh, well, the sales is like some undercover operation where they don't know what's going on. Me,
Yeah.
I'm like, sometimes that's the case, but sometimes I'm like, let me just bring everybody into like the conversation of what's going on,
Hmm.
which is why I would then start explaining,
Yeah.
which is where that one post on Facebook came from, which is like the behold be do have like
Hmm.
reframe that I did. It wasn't because like I originated that. It's because that clicked for me. And then when I was speaking with that guy, it made sense to talk about, one of my concerns with dealing with people, because I don't specifically tell them, it's more so I always put on other people, but I always bring it into the conversation. It's like
Hmm.
one of my biggest concerns I see with people is like they have all these goals and dreams and desires, but because they like have other things like comfortability, fear, that type of stuff, they actually do things that are comfortable. And that actually is going to give them, even though they know it's not going to give them what they want, it feels fine in the moment.
Mm. Yeah.
But the problem with that I see, is that in order for you to get different results and different outcomes, there's like a little equation. It's called like be do have. Have you ever heard of that? No. Okay. Well, what you have to do is you have to choose, and I use my words precisely when I do this. You have to choose to be the person that can get those up here. You
Mm.
have to make that choice. That isn't even enough. Then you have to actually act in accordance
Yeah.
with that to reinforce that choice. If you just like, because it's kind of like a hat. If you put on who you are as like a great dad, and then you get pissed off, you take it off, you put on the I'm the evil dad hat. Like you're just
Hmm.
swapping hats. Like, but
Yeah.
what actually helps that stick?
The actions.
It's the action. And then it's the consistent, and then you keep doing the actions until you get
Mm.
the outcome, the
Yeah.
results.
Yeah.
And if you are able to, because here's the thing, prospects are not stupid. Like
Mm.
prospects aren't stupid. They actually can understand a lot. And this is something I learned from Cole Gordon. If you can give them like insight on a call, that's when they no longer just see you as like some dude. They see you as like a high level expert.
Mm-hmm.
And once they see you as a high level expert, that's when you know you've done your job, because that's when they'll start asking you for what they need to do.
Mm. How would you make them see that though? That you're a high level expert.
Well, one is by being an expert, but then two is
Yeah.
like it
But
depends on
even
the
like,
realm.
you mean by just like using the correct analogies and stuff like that, or
Well, it's getting it's helping them understand something new that is actually meaningful.
yeah, I'm with
So
you.
if I was talking with someone about a business, let's say,
Mhm.
okay, cool, like we're doing a business, blah 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 blah, and they have this mistaken belief that they need to improve their overall website, like they need to get more, $100 buyers, like that type of stuff.
Mm.
And this is a real life example from someone from a couple years ago, but there was a call where that was basically their whole mentality. Is like, I'm trying to get to 10 grand a month. I need to get more $100 purchases on my website. And
Mm.
the guy was like, well, why are you wanting to do that? And the guy was like, well, because obviously, like, $100 multiplied by X equals $10,000 a month. Is like, so your goal is to get to $10,000 a month. They're like, yeah, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, can I be open with you and be honest about that? But the guy's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. It's like, that's actually like a pretty hard way and dumb way to do it.
Mm.
And I'm not trying to be an
Yeah.
ass about that. And he's like, what do you mean? So now he's confused. He's like, my bulletproof plan is do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, and I'll get to 10 grand a month. And you're like, well, that's actually not the best way to do it. And then they're like, what do you mean? Well, based on what I've seen and based on what I've seen other people in the industry do, is instead of us charging $100 and you have 100 of those people, and then you get to 10 grand a month or whatever it happens to be, why not just have two people with 5 grand and then get to
Mm.
that? Don't you feel like if you had two people and only had to work with two people that you actually liked, that would be less work than what you're doing now? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. But like those, it's like an aha moment. Those
Yeah.
aha moments are when you have that, like they give you that level of respect, that
Mhm.
higher level of understanding.
Yeah.
Now, can you do that on every call? Maybe, maybe not. It depends on where they're at. Because like if you're like much further ahead of them in something, it's much easier to give them those aha moments,
Mm.
which is why coaches are great. Is because they've been through the shit and then they can look back on you and be like, oh, when I was figuring this shit out, these are the 5 things I had to figure out, and I'll just like breadcrumb your way to the top. And instead of it taking you 5 years like it took me, it'll take you 5 months.
Mhm.
That's where like that. That's why coaches are so valuable.
Yeah.
It's because they can give you that blueprint and those aha moments along the way. But I forgot why I was going down that track. But essentially,
But you can essentially give them aha moments, like even if it isn't for business, it
yeah,
can be through anything, as long as
yeah,
you know that little, little phrase you can say that change their whole perspective on how they've been looking at things for
yeah.
however long,
Well,
or how they're gonna get to
right,
that goal.
right. But then that's where there's meta layers to this, because it's
Mm.
like, okay, well, this phrase worked with this specific person who had this
Yeah.
deficit, and then
Yeah.
it clicked.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, how that's not going to work with everybody.
No. No.
And then it's like, well, how do you even know? Because you can't just have like 1,000 freaking word tracks memorized and then be like,
Mm.
all right, we're going to use word track number 305 on this guy.
Mhm.
Like, that's not an efficient way to do it. Like, could you? Yes. I know of a couple of people in the high ticket space where basically that's what they've done.
Mm.
But it's like the levels of competence, if you can understand the underlying principle and you
Yeah.
know
That's
what to
it.
recognize,
Yeah.
that's when you can say the right things and do the like that's where Kurt's at right now.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't know if you saw the call of identity shifting where I basically put my freaking nuts on the chopping block for like 45 minutes.
No, I
Um,
didn't. I need to watch that. I need to watch that.
yeah,
But
it was I got a lot of good feedback from people after the call saying like, dude, thank you for that.
mhm.
But essentially like that's what Kurt is able to do, and that's what I'm trying to understand so that I can replicate is what
Yeah,
does he see that I don't?
yeah,
What things are factoring in his mind that I'm not even aware of? And I'm
mm,
not gonna say I have it fully figured out because I don't. But I feel like I'm like 95% of the way there.
yeah. It's like finding. It's like seeing the underlying issue before anyone else,
Yeah. Being able
essentially.
to recognize it,
Yeah,
being able to see it, then once you see it, be able to address it, and then once you're
yeah,
able to address it, actually have it land.
yeah.
Me, I'm now starting to see it. I can address it in a very poor way, so it
Mm,
doesn't always land.
yeah,
But I'm happy that based on the conversation we had before, it's like, oh, okay, now I'm starting to get this.
yeah.
Things are starting to make sense, and it's making my
Mhm,
calls a whole lot better too because I don't need to like hit on every single freaking point of his
mm.
framework anymore because
Yeah, yeah,
it's less about I need to hit these 8 things and more about like oh, there's like 2 things wrong with this person. I'll just like change those things, make
yeah,
sure they actually want what they want, and then like, I'm gonna pitch them, and then I can objection handle them.
yeah, for sure.
It's
Because I've watched previous calls and it's like I've been like having the framework next to it, and I've been like, yeah, you don't even really need to ask the majority of these questions because he's already answering them, or these questions don't apply to this guy. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So yeah,
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 or it's like oh well, like why is it on some of Kurt's calls he basically just does goal and identity and then they close,
yeah,
or why
yeah,
is it he just does goal or he just does pain and identity and he closes, and then
mm,
other calls he just does the full thing and then
yeah,
that's what he doesn't do identity and then it works.
hmm
Like those were the types of questions I was like what am I missing?
yeah,
Because like according to every other sales trainer, it's like you have to hit on these 14 points. If you miss one, you're gonna get this objection and
yeah,
you're fucked.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
that was the traditional way I was thinking. I was like, well, actually, I don't think that's the case.
mm,
If you don't use identity and you don't use some of these other things, yes, you do need that to get enough leverage to
hmm
then objection handle them to make a decision.
yeah,
But then I was like, I'm not just here to do that because I'm not gonna say I knew that, but it's like I know there's a deeper layer to this. And if I can understand that deeper layer, that'll not only help me be more confident in my calls, but that'll
mm,
help me be able to figure out things on the fly.
mm,
Because Bill Walsh, Kurt Udale, some of the other people in the box that I was there with, all of them like had this like underlying like idea of how to on the fly make shit happen.
mm,
That wasn't me. And I was like,
yeah,
well, why am I spending 2 weeks worth of my time, my Christmas, for 100 hours over the course of those 2 weeks trying to figure this shit out? And they just seem to walk in and figure it out. And I'm just like, there's got to be something I'm missing. There's got to be like an underlying principle that I was missing, which is
hmm
true.
yeah.
Um, but I'm not trying to make this the me call.
Nah, don't
But
worry, bro. I'm soaking it all in. You should record this. You should record these sessions and put them on YouTube because
yeah,
this is some good shit. Yeah,
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 I've actually, I may very well start doing that.
yeah.
But essentially that's like the my perspective on it. Because if
Mhm.
you can do a good enough discovery, objection handling is like so easy
Yeah,
because you've got so much like built up leverage from discovery. It's not even funny.
yeah,
It's kind of like the better you do in discovery, the more weight your objection handling has,
yeah.
and
Because
the worse
essentially,
you.
the more scared to even object at the end once I've poured out
Yeah. Well, it's not
every.
even they're scared. Like
Mm,
it's more so like in their mind, does it make sense for them to object?
yeah, yeah.
Now, even if they do object for whatever reason, there's some bad belief in their brain that's making them want to do something different.
Mhm.
Like then by having a much better discovery, like the objection handling you do has a much heavier level of effect
Mhm.
based on how good your discovery was. Like
Okay.
I don't remember what it was, but I think his name's Raph. In like Kurt's recordings, but
Mhm.
basically when the dude said I want to think about it, Kurt basically just laughed in his face and was like, "You joking?"
Mm.
Like that's not a word track, but like how
Yeah.
could he get away with that? it was
Mm.
because of the type of discussion
Discovery.
they had from discovery.
Yeah.
And so once that took place, it's like, no, dude, we're not doing that. But can you do that on every call with every person? No, you can't. Because
Mm.
if you do that with like a high level dude who, you've done an okay discovery with,
Yeah.
then that's probably not gonna land. And then you have
No.
to think, okay, well then what would I need to do to get this specific person out of their own way?
Yeah.
Which then
Yeah.
comes down to like your understanding of the principles. And then with those principles, what are the frameworks that Kyle and Kurt build on top of it?
Mhm.
And then based on the context of the call, what specific things would I say to fit those frameworks to then have it land?
Mhm.
Because the beautiful thing about this, and I used to be like, why the hell is someone able to just come up with shit on the fly? It's because basically they've drilled the patterns to where they understand it at a core level. Like it's part of who they are.
Mhm.
And then they understand the framework back to front with, it could be a word track, it could be just with the idea of what they're trying to get across, depending on how skilled they are. And then what's funny is because our brain plays favorites and it wants to do the least work possible. Instead of you coming up with shit on the
Mm.
fly on your own, your brain borrows the context of the discovery call to come up with
Yeah.
shit. And because it's borrowing this prospect's context of what you've talked about,
Mhm.
it makes it make sense to them. And then it's easier on your brain.
Mhm. Okay.
Maybe I should reframe or rephrase that a little bit. But basically, it's like when you have like a gut reaction of doing stuff, your
Mm.
brain doesn't want to do more work. It just wants to do what it knows. So then it's like, well, how can I do it in the least, brain intensive way possible, which is literally just borrowing what you got from the prospect
Yeah.
and then piecing it
Using it
together
against
and
them.
giving it to them.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, man. So like in let's say your discovery, right? What's the main priorities or what's the main like tactics you can use to really dig deep? Because I'm noticing on some of my role players that I'm getting the reason why, but I feel like like it's not too significant to them. Like it's a good it's a surface level why. It's not
Hmm.
a really deep meaning why.
Yeah. So
Um.
there's a couple things you can do. One is by however you're asking your why, you can change it to invite a deeper answer. That's what Kyle does on
Mhm.
his calls. He changes how he asks it to get a much deeper why.
Mm.
What I've seen Kurt do, and sometimes I do this if I'm like it's a little too early in the conversation to go beyond this, like, because if I'm asking this gal if we want to get married after the
Mm.
second date, she's gonna think I'm nuts. Some
Yeah.
people, some
Okay.
people are like that on calls. Where they're like, "Why the frick are you wanting to know that?"
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you almost have to like earn additional like deep depth with them, but you can't
Yeah.
just sit there for freaking 15 minutes just staring at them.
Is
Like
that by like
so.
resonating or what?
So what I've seen Kurt do and what I do is like, okay, so if I can't get a super deep goal or super deep reason why in the very beginning, then I
Mm.
just go into current state. And then I ask
Okay.
questions, clarify, and through me really genuinely trying to understand what's going on now, one, they appreciate it because you're asking good questions. And then
Mhm.
two, it raises you up in their mind as someone that's genuinely there to help and they can be open
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. Cool.
So then later on, when you think about, okay, so what genuinely is the difference going to make? Like, what's actually going to change? How is this not serving you? Like, I know your goal,
Mm.
which is surface level. I know your current state. Why is it actually important for you to get that 10K a month?
Mm.
Well, because of reason A, B, C, and D. Okay, interesting. But the thing is, by that point in the conversation, they'll have seen you genuinely try to understand and
Mm.
genuinely try to help. So then
Mhm.
they feel comfortable and more open actually sharing things with you at the 20-minute mark when they wouldn't be at the 2-minute mark.
Yeah.
So you could even potentially ask like the same question or a
Yeah.
variation of it later on, and you'll get a better answer because they're more
Mm.
comfortable with you in terms of talking. Like you've demonstrated that you're actually there for a good reason. You're actually trying to help. So they don't feel
Yeah.
like you're a sales guy. They feel like you're actually there to try to solve a problem.
Mhm.
And then that allows them to be more open with you because you've demonstrated that. So
Yeah.
if I can't
Makes
get
sense.
it immediately, then it's okay. We'll get the current state, get the problem, get how is it impacting them, how would getting a goal change their life or make things better. And then I would usually try to go again into the why a little bit later,
Mm,
just trying to use the context. Because I know you mentioned you're wanting to make 10K, but like genuine question, like what do you feel is actually going to be different?
mm,
Like, because at the end of the day, making 10K to put it in like a bank account somewhere, like that's not like, yeah, you have it, cool, but like, what actually changes for you beyond just like the ones and zeros? And then they'll
mm,
start talking about things that are not money related or they're not surface level. Or if they do talk about surface level stuff, you could be like, well, why is that actually important? I know a ton of
mm,
people that don't want to travel because they feel like it's a headache and a hassle and it's overrated.
mm,
Oh, because I want to be able to travel with my family. Oh, interesting. Where are you wanting to travel to? Well, I'm wanting to travel to this place because, my daughter was wanting to go there and she, puts a massive smile on her face.
yeah.
So then it's like you've like
Then you're using,
transitioned into that
yeah.
other conversation. Now, does that work all the time? I
Mm-hmm.
can't say it does because there's so many factors that go into it. But
Yeah.
that's how I've seen Kurt do it, and that's how I try to approach it. Am I always
Yeah.
successful? No. Um, Unfortunately, I'm still trying to learn and improve, but that's how I try to think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess the discovery is just building up enough leverage in the start to use against them in the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Or it's not so much to use against them in the end, it's more so by you trying to genuinely understand, you automatically build the leverage.
yeah.
And the deeper you try to understand them and why they're not where they want to be,
Mm-hmm.
that is when, like, when your intention is right, you can get away asking some very evil questions and they will
Mm,
just take it on the chin and be cool with
yeah.
it. Now,
Yeah.
if you ask even like a mildly offensive one with the wrong intentions, it could blow up the call.
Yeah.
So why you're asking the questions is important. Like if you're just trying to do it for the sake of a paycheck and you're just trying to put them in a position where like you're just trying to get leverage on them, a
Mm,
lot of them will sense that.
yeah.
And as soon as they sense that, they're going to shut down and they're going to stop giving you good answers. They're going to start lying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not going to help the call.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
So the intention is, in my opinion, the intention has to be there. But if the intention is there and you genuinely want what's best for them, you're not going to have a problem asking them tough questions,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not going to have a problem answering them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it
And
makes
then,
sense.
and then when you're having those tough conversations, then it's much easier for you to call out bullshit
Yeah. Yeah. For
because they
sure.
feel like you're actually there for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And so if you're like being a grammar Nazi over their freaking like language, like I want to try, it's like I mean, out of curiosity, are you just trying your wife right now, or like, are you committed to your wife?
Yeah.
And
Mm,
it'd be like, well, I'm committed to your wife. Be like, how would you feel if she was like, oh, I'm just gonna try you and see if it works out?
mm,
Be like, oh, I wouldn't like that at all. Now, I'm not
yeah.
saying this is like, the same thing, because that's what they'll probably say. Well, this is that. It's like, well, I'm not saying it's exactly the same thing, but like the point I'm trying to get across is like, if we treat the goals that we have like something we're just going to try, what do you think the chances
Mm,
are of us actually being able to commit to and
mm,
actually be able to make it a fulfilling thing to happen?
slim to
Uh,
none.
it probably not. Okay,
Yeah.
so then genuine question, do you feel like you're in a position where you're actually wanting to treat your goals like a marriage partner, commit to it so that you can have that fulfilling dream that you want for yourself? I
Mm,
learned that from Christian Vasquez, that because he's married. I'm not
okay.
married. But like, but
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, that's actually so savage. He did it better than I did. I just kind of said the punchline, but he had
No,
like
but
this
it makes
whole
sense.
like thing
Yeah.
that he
Yeah. Yeah.
went through with it, and I was like, dude, that's savage.
Mm.
Um, he's a good dude, but
I mean, you could apply that to like even taking care of your kids, though, innit? Are you gonna try to take care of your kids,
yeah,
or are you actually gonna be, what I mean, the dad that your kids deserve? And
yeah,
if we apply that, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah, man.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not pretending like I have all the answers because quite frankly I don't, and
Mhm.
I'm not Kurt in terms of like, yeah, crushing 30 grand months yet.
Yeah.
Eventually.
What offer are you on, like currently?
So right now I'm on a land flipping offer. Essentially it's like
Okay.
wholesaling, but
Mm,
instead of it being houses, it's land. It's a little bit easier for people to do. It's less saturated and it's a lot less like emotionally intensive on people, which is beautiful. Um,
is it just logistics or what? You talking
well,
like business people?
it depends, but like, so the people that I speak with are usually it's basically like a biz op crowd. That's most of the people.
Hmm.
Um, the people that they speak to, it's a mixed bag of people that are done okay, but it's basically like instead of you having to like essentially objection handle people out of the house that their grandparents have lived in, that their parents have lived in, that they've lived in, and that they want their kids to live in. Instead of you have, and they're in a bad spot and they need
Mm,
money, so they're going to wholesale their house. Instead of you having to deal with that garbage, the conversations are, hey, now that you're spending $10,000 a month on taxes every single year, just own this sucker. Like, would you be
mm,
opposed to me giving you 60 grand and then you not having to pay that?
yeah.
That's a totally different, like, it's a much more
Yeah.
numbers driven, logical conversation. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
cool.
for sure.
Um,
Have
but
you
cool,
sold
man.
like other offers and stuff?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
sold all
yeah, yeah.
sorts of different. It's mainly B2C stuff.
Yeah.
Mainly BizOppy. Um,
No, sick man. I appreciate your time though. Thank you
no, 100%.
for
And I
jumping
think
on,
I
bro.
very well may just take this and actually I don't know because Kurt's got a ton of sauce that I've kind of tried to walk through on this call. People might be like, I don't need Kurt's
Mm,
shit. But I'll give you the recording. We'll see if I upload this to YouTube or not. Um,
yeah, cool man.
but dude, I
Sweet.
appreciate you actually reaching
Yeah.
out again and actually wanting to get better. Hopefully this made sense.
No, of course,
It,
man.
if you
I've
have,
been I've been trying to do like 2 to 3 role plays a day. Um,
mhm,
Mainly like two. But
mhm.
yeah, I'm trying to do as many as I can. Hopefully land a role by the end of the month. This
Hell yeah, man.
offer.
Hell
So
yeah.
yeah,
All right, man.
let's do
Well,
it.
keep your head up. If you
Yeah,
need anything
appreciate
from
it.
me, let me know. And then I'll be looking forward to the next time.
No problem, man. Have a good day.
Yep. Take care, man.
See you in a bit.